Thank you. So now we'll have Professor Todor Ganchev talking us about machine learning and animal communication. I'm not sure this is yeah. Go ahead. Thanks, Todor.
Thank you. After the very nice talk of Mark, my talk will be mathematical disappointment because I have no equations, okay? No equations, sorry. And I will be talking about animals, and I will try to explain why this is important. Because I'm new to this community, I would say that I like very much nice places, nature, and I also like to have fun doing my job. So I've been to different places, all of them with nice weather, okay? And my laboratory is working mainly in human-machine interaction, developing adaptive interfaces, and also interfaces that are smarter than human. Actually, they can adapt to the human state of mind at a given moment. And there is this nice sidetrack, the computational bioacoustics. I will be talking about computational bioacoustics, very simple things. I hope you will enjoy it. Let's start with very simple thing. What do they say? They are having discussion. What do you think about this? I would say that we have no idea because we have the human perspective. We are clever, we are best of the best, we are intelligent, maybe. But one of the main definitions of intelligence is the ability to see a situation from different perspectives. Okay, we are interested in the stars, we want to see the aliens, maybe discuss with the aliens. What is the common reference that we will speak about with aliens? Isn't it more natural that we speak with creatures that are here with us? We share the same environment. Probably we shall collaborate, not eat each other, okay? So for me personally, it will be much more, okay, it should be much more interesting to speak to a dolphin or to a squirrel or maybe to other creatures just to get their perspective. What do they think about life, enjoying life? What is the purpose of life? Important questions. And since I have heard about different hypotheses and how to test hypotheses, I decided to, let's say, provoke you in a way, in a stupid way, but let's think about this. So animal communication is a fascinating field, isn't it? And today I will try to collect some observations that will show the complexity and diversity of animal communication. And then, of course, the no hypothesis is that it is not, we do not have this information. Anyway, this was a joke. Sorry for getting serious, but animals communicate in diverse manners. They use acoustic emissions and they have this body language, and they also communicate through chemical signals and visual signals and tactile signals. Animals have various ways to communicate. And why this is needed? Because it serves a purpose. Many life cycle events and stages depend on communication. So animals socialize, and they need to reproduce and they need to find food, and then they collaborate in order to avoid predators or danger. And this collaboration is interspecies. Wow, they found a way to communicate with other species successfully. I don't think we do the same, but maybe I'm wrong. And many other things which are important for animal communication is that very often communication is specialized, species specific, and then it is most of the time context dependent, and then it is evolving and complex, and very often it is interspecies. I know at this point you disagree. I will be, let's say, enjoying having conversation with you. But what is important, I believe, is that communication is between brains. Yesterday, Tanya said that we could talk without thinking. I'm a good example of this. I can talk without thinking, but generally communication is exchange between brains. And for instance, if I go to a friend and say, oh, I've been to this project with a nice logo, probably all the other brains will say, oh, we know this project is a Smash project. They do nice things and they have a workshop. But if I refer to a concept, the other brains develop this concept and they know what I'm talking about. And then I wonder what a squirrel will say about our logo to a capybara. Probably a capybara will say, oh, I like the green part. And then what a lion will say about this logo, probably a lion will say, okay, I like the reddish part. Things like that are very, very strange, but I believe that brains cannot communicate directly. They need some medium, and they also need some expression techniques. And in animal kingdom, these are behaviors. Emitting sound is a behavior. Doing special dance is a behavior. Animals communicate through behaviors. And they also need a mechanism to recognize behaviors of the other animals. This saves lives, helps for reproduction, for many other things. And then there are other brains that like to convert behaviors to concepts, to analyze concepts, and then to provide feedback through converting concepts to behaviors. And then there are even other brains that react to stimuli. There is stimuli, and then there is behavior that was triggered by that stimuli. So brains are different. How to communicate is a big question. I don't have the solution. I'm not that clever. But what is important is that it's quite difficult to analyze what is going inside an organism because of the multifunctionality, because of the fact that brains is doing many things at the same time. And it's difficult to isolate and then go directly to the point and nail it. So I will be talking a little bit about this interpretation. I would like to say understanding, but this is too far, of multiple sets of observations and then some behaviors in a certain context. And I will give very simple examples. People have advanced much more than that, but I'm going simple. I'm a simple man. And then from the perspective of machine learning, we are having, let's say, very clear situation. We need some resources, a data set that is representative, comprehensive, and then we need some tags or values, things that we refer to in order to train the model. And then there is always a matter of agreement. that the tags we set and the observations we have some relation, specific relation. In the specific case of animals is kind of tricky because a human observer decides what the tags will be or what the expected values will be. And this is really unfair because we judge from our human perspective and we assume things. And then we make prediction using some data and tags. We create machine learning models, and we use these machine learning models in order to make some predictions of discrete categories or values or whatever we need. Very, very simple things. And then, is this helping to gain understanding? Does it help us to achieve communication with animals? Communication is about understanding each other. Is this approach working? I don't know. And life is even more complicated. Our task is even more complicated because animal communication is multimodal. And then imagine how to obtain data. Of course, I will show you how you can punish a student staying 4 months in the forest observing things, but this is for the end. Basically, the most available source of information is audio because animals hide and they emit sounds. Most of the time, they are hidden. And then for audio, line of sight is not necessary. And then it doesn't matter if it is day or night. Sounds propagates the same way, almost. And then there are many other good reasons why sound is a good way to observe animals. Of course, the information we obtain is partial. Of course, the communication range is not so long. And there are some other problems. Sound is less reliable. Some animals lie, like the humans do, about their size, about things. They learn how to cheat. But what is most important is that sound does not require collaboration from the listener. I mean, you can do other things and passively listen. And this is how technology approaches this problem. We are using passive acoustic monitoring devices. Okay. And I will switch to the topic of computational bioacoustics, which does not solve all the problems. It is just a way to do sound recognition in a way, or interpretation of sounds. And it is part of the bigger science of computational ecology, where also biologists and people ecologists, they help each other to understand what is going with the populations, with nature, to get some insights, a little bit of understanding what is going in nature. So computational bioacoustics is interdisciplinary, and which means collaboration is essential for the good results. There are some nice observations why computational acoustics is good, because it replaced the human, the biologist that stays months or years in nature trying to capture specific events, to navigate, to understand what this animal is doing. There are many, many ways to avoid subjective limitations due to the human, let's say, education background or perception or even his way of thinking. So I will just try to entertain you a little bit. I have no sound because this is a PDF, but let me play something. Okay, so what is this? What do you say? These are things that most of the postdocs have forgotten, right? Life is hard, but what are these things? What is all this about? What they are doing? What do you say about that? There is some communication, at least 3 or 4 males speaking to 2 females. This is on the anteater. These are small sparrow, sparrows, small birds that eat ants. They are discussing something. Several individuals, 4 males and then 2 females, and on the background you hear other things, romantic things. There are some insects. I have heard a frog. This happens all together. It is a soundscape. How to analyze this? What we do? Okay, we have the observation, sound. From the sound, we can easily go to dimensional, have the spectrogram. And based on the spectrogram, okay, it is the distribution of energy over frequency, components, and time. So the spectrogram is the energy distribution over a certain period. We have only 5 seconds here, but it is a nice representation of what is going. And not very easy to interpret because there are several events overlapping. And with some tricks, we can hire a biologist to annotate and say what is there. And it is annotated on species level. So we see that in this small excerpt, I would say, small portion of snippet of it, of just 5 seconds, we have 6 species that are very well distinguished. And then, as you see, I cut everything kilohertz, and then I cut almost all the information about the environment and all the other things that happen, wind and rain and whatever it is. So this is a very simplified picture of what is going. How to separate these sources? I mean, you have 6 species. Perhaps at the next step, we need to identify the individuals that communicate. So, do you think that this annotated spectrogram has some similarity with the nice wallpaper? No, it does not. Because on the wallpaper, you see 4 objects which are separatable in space. You can put a bounding box and separate them one from another. In the spectrogram, you have many events that overlap in frequency and into the time domain. It is much more complicated to go this way. So some image processing probably will help, and then some clever model-based techniques for removing sound sources will help. If we set the objective to listen to the nice bird, the anteater, the sparrow, the small sparrow, so we can discard most of the information in a model-based signal processing way, old-fashioned, based on domain knowledge. Extremely important is to have domain knowledge. And then, what is the right question that we need to solve? The question, what we want to achieve, is not obvious. It is depending on what we aim. We went, okay, do we want to understand what the sparrow is saying? What do they say to each other? What is our aim at the end? And there are various machine learning problems that we can solve in order to improve our understanding. I will not go into details. This is machine learning community, but some of them are two-class decision problems. Some of them are multi-class decision problems. Some of them will discover the tax, and some of them will also discover the time stamps, the beginning and end of each event. And some of them will also discover the direction of arrival of sound, the elevation above the ground, and also the probability that this is a specific individual or specific species. I will really not go into details, and I will not go into details about the different technology that use. It is shown here from the perspective of the end user. Who is the end user? I believe for now, mostly biologists, ecologists, but at the very end, why not us? I mean, the ordinary people. So I will not go into details, but we have to address different machine learning tasks. For example, if we need to track an individual or a group of individuals to track their behaviors. They will not have social index like the people in China, but at least we can monitor behaviors. Based on these behaviors, we can try to understand what is going. So what you see here is that you provide sample of sound, and then the system can recognize for a specific individual or specific species the start time, the end time of its activity, and then the direction of arrival of sound, and then the elevation above the ground, and the probability that this is this individual. And then you can have a diary, what is going, behavior monitoring, okay? And then how this happens based on the spectrogram. Of course, here we show only one microphone, but usually we use several microphones. How to achieve this behavior monitoring or even simple understanding what is going? And very old signal processing and image processing techniques, model-based, can help us to eliminate most of the sources which are not of interest for the specific case. So here, as you will see, the focus is the anteater, this small bird. So through series of processing steps, we can eliminate the other sources. And in the spectrogram, you see mostly the sounds of anteater. So what we do next? Of course, we do machine learning. And then we can do some feature extraction, and then we do different techniques, finding the points of interest or find the frames of interest. Depending on the method used, we capture different aspects of the initial data set. And if you go this way, selecting frames, you actually select a column, a time slice that shows all the activities of all the animals. So you capture the context also, not the specific species, but also the context. And a very simple traditional approach that can be used to do recognition identification is based on multiple models, because as it is obvious, different machine learning techniques use different assumptions, so they err in a different way. So combining them, doing fusion of classifiers usually helps a little bit. So we go this way. Let me get specific because time is running. I will try to show you a few examples, very simple ones. And this is the traditional way. Sebastian, 4 months, he's a student, bachelor student, biologist. He spent 4 months in the nature, observing birds, animals. At least in the beginning, I suffered for him. But then I started spending more and more time with him. And at the end, I was converted. I spent 3 months with other students in the nature, and it is fun. People use observation techniques to record what is going and have a diary. At some point, we also deployed sound recording devices that collect continuous recordings. We collected a database of 3 years, 24/7 sound at different locations in Brazil, in the Pantanal. And then these recordings collected soundscapes, what is going in nature. And then we were able to analyze some of these soundscapes, and I will show you 2 simple things. The one is a traditional approach looking for Vanellus chilensis, a bird that is very important because it migrates, and the cycle of the water cycle in Pantanal is somehow related to the behavior of this bird. So it is an indicator what is coming with nature. When you see the bird, you know that something else will come, the food will go or whatever. So we used domain knowledge in order to extract some descriptors that will be very successful for identifying this specific bird, its activity. And so we developed a model of everything except the bird, and then a model of the bird, and those simple machine learning things. And why this is important? Because it helps us to identify the behavior of this bird over 24 hours or over months. And we can compare what happens during the night, what happens and then we were able to study simple things like what happens if we do not record continuously, if we record 15 minutes per hour or so. We still get results which are a little bit noisy, but representative for different months. But the bigger picture is what happens with this bird over 6 months. We are able to study the different stages of the life cycle of this bird. For example, this is the water level in the Pantanal. In the rainy season, there is flood always. So what happens when the water level starts to drop? Then the birds arrive, and then they lay eggs, and after some days, they start to hatch the eggs, and then the vocal activity goes up, and then other things happen. We are able, just by the sound of one small bird, to understand what is going with the life cycle of this bird. And then we can see what is going during the night, what is going during the day, how this is related to the water cycle. And we have an instrument to monitor continuously over months and years without human observer. Does this help? We don't know. Maybe it helps. Maybe if we monitor many places. In this project, we monitored 7 locations at the beginning, only with audio, and then with some cameras, and then also with some other, let's say, devices. We deployed meteorological stations. We were able to model things on the long term. Okay, and then we tried to do the same thing based on the, let's say, pre-trained models. We tried different pre-trained models. ResNet 152 was somehow working. And so it was disappointment. Many of the pre-trained models are specialized, are adjusted to ImageNet competition, recognizing 1,000 objects. but not spectrograms. So after some efforts, we designed, let's say, architecture, which is better adapted for spectrograms. 5 minutes, okay, I will finish in a while. And then it is again pyramid. This is the stereotype. It should be a pyramid. This is not obligatory. We also tried different things. They also work well, but they were not accepted well because of other problems. You see some results. The ResNet is red wine, and the proposed architecture is blue wine. Here is zero, error zero. So when this goes into the direction of zero, means no errors, no false alarms, no missed events. So going down to zero is good. And our models slightly better than the ResNet that was adapted with hours of data. What does it say? Okay, it seems that the convolutional neural networks do not really go that well on every application. We do image processing of spectrograms, but the pre-trained models are not so good. We try to adapt in different ways with different data. In all the cases, a very simple network behaves better. And then at some point, we were able to do the same thing, to analyze the vocal activity over day and night, over months, but at what cost? Computational power and time spent to develop. This recognizer was double than the knowledge-based approach. When you have the domain knowledge, when you exploit domain knowledge. I don't say that it was disappointment, but it was kind of a lesson that if you can do something simple, do it simple. Don't go to the general trend. Because, okay, convolutional neural networks are very nice, deep learning even better, but the effort required is not paying back at some point. So, central point, I'm about to finish. A central point is what we do in Europe and how things are done in America. One of the main objectives is to collect resources. So 2006, a nice team from USA started a large-scale data collection. They used 4 stations to collect audio. They did not collect continuously, 10 minutes every hour, and they deployed infrastructure. Off-the-shelf components. They built something very nice. And this project is still going now. This project does not have end. They made it commercial. They offer commercial services. In Europe, we do great projects. This was a project we did in Greece. We forgot, let's say, about it already. It was best of the best, nominated #1 in Europe for, but due to many weaknesses of our system here, it has no continuation. We collected 2 years or 3 years of data. We did nice processing techniques, real-time processing. We were even happy because the infrastructure was already there. Real-time communication of data, real-time analysis, very nice things, but no continuation. This is how we work in Europe. I'm sorry to say this, but I hope you do not work this way, the way we did. And many of the things that were developed were in the position to be, let's say, gaining importance, to make resources and technology that was, let's say, very advanced. We didn't make it. Some more details about computational bioacoustics are available here. many thanks to the colleagues I worked with in Brazil and in Greece. But what about our hypothesis? Animal communication is fascinating, but we are far away of understanding what animal can tell us. And believe me, talking to a dolphin is much better than talking to alien. Thank you.
Thank you, Todor. Maybe just one very general question. So if I understand correctly, the questions you study are animals in the wild, and you use sound to determine properties of species, like their migration, what they do. But going exactly to this hypothesis testing, are there studies that try maybe one single species communication with itself, like monitoring, talking about dolphins or birds, maybe I don't know, in captivity, or just a simpler system, and then to try to decipher what's happening between them, like on a single species basis. Sorry for the question. Again, I'm an astrophysicist.
What we trying to do now is to gain some understanding about the life cycle of different species. Some of these are key species. They are important for the ecosystem in a way. Some of them are important for the human activities. They are pests, or we consider them pests, or we consider them key species that deliver some economical impact or economical benefit or profit. And we are far away from understanding what do they say to each other. And this is really a pity that we do not have the reference, we do not have the understanding what they are doing, why they are doing it. If we are able to communicate with animals, we will be more humans, and this will help for our intelligence. For now, we are doing very basic things, trying to analyze behaviors as we do for humans.
Sure. No, because here and there, one reads the news, I don't know, DeepMind or like some big tech that they advertise some progress in that respect, but I just want to hear where we are at.
It would be very nice if we can, as a society, if we shift some of our resources to understand better nature, to understand the other living beings, instead of going in the other direction, exterminating everything, and then we are the best. We are the only intelligent species on that planet.
Sure. Questions? First, Gabi.
Thank you for the talk. Maybe it's a vague question, but do you think the issue right now is more about the technology that is used on the data that you already have, or it's the data that you can reasonably get? Like, would you need more data that have more the context of the audio to better understand it, or is it really figuring out how to extract the information from the audio or other data?
Yeah, from my perspective, we have enough data. And we also have technology. I believe if we use the technology that we already have, we can make significant progress. What we do not have is understanding why this is important. And what we do not have is the focus on biodiversity, on nature. Our focus is elsewhere. We are fighting with our friends. We are fighting with our enemies. Resources get wasted instead of going to, let's say, things which are important for our survival as a species. I'm sure that I didn't answer your question, but Technology is here, resources are here. Even people who are interested are here. Even funding is here. There is some progress. We are in the beginning. So more people coming to work in this fascinating area will be nice.
Was there another question? Yes.
I wanted to ask you if or how far is bioacoustic can be employed to determine health of an ecosystem by just catching sounds of keystone species or the lack of sounds of keystone species.
Yeah, thank you for this question. Very nice. Of course, I showed you simple things, recognizing of one species, but there are these acoustic indexes that measure what is normal for ecosystem. And then when you see these acoustic indexes, they actually represent the activity of all species over some period. When something is wrong with the ecosystem, or if a species starts to decline, this changes the acoustic indexes. There is some, let's say, reduction of energy at specific bands of the frequency domain, or there is some gap into the time domain, something that is normal does not happen anymore. So with simple detector of what is normal and monitoring these specific acoustic indexes, you can judge if there is change. And then if there is change, then a human expert ecologist must go and check. But global monitoring for what is normal is possible. Technology is already here, and people even can make lists of all the species that are acoustically active at every moment of time. These technologies exist. Multi-input, multiple label classifiers exist. They just need more power and more computational power. So giving sound sample, they can give you the list of all the species that are active. So technology is there.
Okay. Okay, so let's thank Todor again.
Thank you.